This professional training is based on the Navigating Screens research project, which collected and analyzed interviews with 51 parents and 24 professionals, including librarians, teachers, and pediatricians. Interviews took place in 3 U.S. states and focused on different ways that parents mediate advice about screens. It lasts 10 minutes, excluding time for optional group discussions, and offers a brief snapshot of a full-length presentation. Additional materials for the presentation include 1. A quick reference guide which explains the 3 frameworks covered, as well as 2. Interview quotes from the data collection for further group discussion. You can find these downloadable materials on the Navigating Screens website.
This training helps professionals consider different family contexts for media use. The training uses examples from our interviews with parents. The goal is to consider how to support families in culturally relevant ways. First, the training presents data that show how differences in family and contextual factors such as socioeconomic status, ethnicity, disability, location, parents' work schedules, and religious beliefs or values impact family decisions connected with media use. Second, the training introduces 3 frameworks that describe family media use. Thinking through these frameworks can help professionals better understand and guide families in their decisions about their media use. On some of the slides in this training, you will see asterisks. These indicate opportunities to pause the presentation for conversation and reflection.
The message on the screen is probably not new to anyone. However, we often hear one-size-fits-all solutions about topics like screen time. In an increasingly media-saturated world, parents seek solutions to challenges they face. The reality, however, is that every community, family, and child is different.
One-size-fits-all messages and recommendations do not work for many families, like the now defunct and revised 1999 American Academy of Pediatrics oft-cited 2x2 rule. The rule stated that children under age 2 should have no access to screens, and for children over age 2, screen time should be limited to 1 to 2 hours per day. You might pause to discuss messages from news media, like those shown here, and how these messages might alienate some parents and caregivers.
This next section, entitled In Their Own Words, contains 3 slides from the research data demonstrating different family contexts, which depict some of the challenging realities faced by everyday American families in relation to screen media use. These excerpts illustrate how different contexts impact parental decision-making surrounding family media use. If time permits, you may pause the presentation for discussion.
This first slide highlights the role of ethnicity and gender in parents' decision-making. We are definitely strict when it comes to the boys, just because it's hard being Hispanic too, you know? The stereotypes and stuff. So the last thing I want are my children to be violent or gang-related or anything like that, because that's kind of why I feel like I'm way stricter when it comes to screen time and television.
The second slide indicates how disability and location impact decisions about screen media use. Do you know what the effort is just to get them to brush their teeth every time? To get them to stay off their screens and go do something else? I spend my whole day just hovering over them, so that's a pipe dream. I know there are parents like, just take them away. I guess I could. I pick my battles. Other parents say like, oh, we only let them have it at this time. But I try to steer clear of those conversations because I feel so guilty.
Finally, this quote indicates the role religion, including values and ethics, plays in decision-making about family media use. The Bible is our standard. That's how we make decisions on what they should be watching and shouldn't be watching. That's the number one thing. The next 3 slides contain frameworks for understanding family media use. Each slide illustrates a framework and also provides hypothetical examples. As we introduce each framework, consider how one's personal biases shape perceptions of media use, and how these frameworks might help to create more open-ended and individualized guidance tools. 2 optional handouts accompany this section of the presentation. The first is a quick reference guide which summarizes the frameworks for understanding family media use, and the second contains 5 real-life parent quotes from the data to practice applying the 3 frameworks at the end of the section.
The expression joint media engagement comes from the organization responsible for founding Sesame Street, the Joan Gantz Cooney Center. It refers to spontaneous and designed experiences of people using media together. Joint media engagement broadens the notion of co-viewing, as it can happen anywhere and at any time when there are multiple people interacting together and engaging with any form of media. Modes of joint media engagement include viewing, playing, searching, reading, contributing, and creating with either digital or traditional media. Joint media engagement can support learning by providing resources for making sense and making meaning of particular situations. Here are some examples of different ways children might experience joint media engagement. You may want to pause here to discuss some of these examples.
Author and New York Times education contributor Lisa Guernsey created the 3 C's framework. This framework offers librarians and other professionals an easy-to-remember practical model for addressing complex questions involving digital media use, parenting, and youth. Every child comes to media or technology with their own needs and interests that can be either fostered or squelched, depending on how media are used. The context, or what is happening around the viewing or playing, as well as the extent to which screen time dominates a child's daily routines, can also make a difference. According to a growing number of studies on toddlers, preschoolers, and elementary school children, the content or information portrayed on screen impacts whether a child learns from what they see. The 3 C's framework might be particularly relevant when thinking about interactions with parents and caregivers. This slide indicates some key questions to consider connected with the 3 C's. Feel free to pause here to read and discuss the information on this slide.
This framework is based on extensive research with families by Livingston, a professor in media and communications at the London School of Economics, and Bloom Ross, the global public policy lead for children and families at Google YouTube. The framework identifies 3 genres of digital parenting: embrace, balance, or resist, at different times depending on context. Parents might embrace, balance, and resist in different contexts and in relation to different media. Think about how parenting with media changes according to the delivery medium, age of consumer, in various spaces, or even situations like weather, while traveling, or on vacation. This framework provides a potentially useful way of thinking and empowering parents and caregivers and librarians and other professionals as they approach navigating screens in their lives.
In conclusion, contextual factors such as race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, geographic location, disability, parents' work schedules, and religious beliefs or values shape families' decision-making in regard to media use. These 3 media use frameworks can assist professionals in not only understanding, but also supporting families as they navigate screens and digital media in their daily lives. For further information, including fully realized short and long versions of this presentation, please visit the Navigating Screens website and click on the Overview of Training Materials tab.